Peace and blessings, family. Brother Shareef up in the mix doing part two of Drugs in America. I did a little piece the other day about we need treatment instead of incarceration because our people are being incarcerated at very high rates due to drugs. Just a little review because I did that Facebook Live, and sometimes Facebook Live be glitching and stuff like that. But I talked about two landmark cases in America where the landmark case was in 1962. It was called Robinson versus the state of California. And in that case, Mr. Robinson was noticed by a police officer with tracks in his arm, which the police officer thought he was a drug addict, so he arrested him. But Robinson's attorney argued that you can't arrest him for being a drug addict because it's not a crime. It's a disease. So that's the first time in U.S. history that drug addiction was treated as an illness and not as a criminal act. That's Robinson versus the state of California in 1962. Then in 1966, Powell versus the state of Texas. Mr. Powell was noticed walking down the street intoxicated. The officer arrested him, and Mr. Powell's attorney brought up the landmark case in 1962 with Mr. Robinson and said that you cannot arrest him for being an alcoholic. And they agreed, and they changed the charge and said we didn't arrest him for being an alcoholic. We arrested him for public intoxication. So these are two landmark cases decriminalizing being addicted to drugs. So I wanted to put that out there that being addicted to drugs or alcohol, according to the American justice system, is not a criminal act. It's supposed to be looked at as a disease. So where is our treatment? Where is our intervention? How come it seems like Europeans get intervention and treatment and we get incarceration? Furthermore, I went into how drugs, crack cocaine, was deliberately spread throughout black communities, all throughout, first on the West Coast and all through up and down the East Coast and even in the South, where I'm at now, here in North Carolina, by Ronald Reagan and his wife. The same time that they were campaigning commercials saying, say no to drugs, they were bringing the drugs into inner city America. They did it by via Nicaraguan drug lords named Oscar Menes and Danilo Blandon. They first tried to spread it in Miami because of cultural differences, they couldn't spread it. So somehow they ended up in South Central Los Angeles, ran into Rick Ross, not the rapper Rick Ross, but Rick Ross. First, he had went to college to play tennis because he was very good in tennis. He got put out of college because they found out he couldn't read. He started peddling heroin and stuff like that. But then Oscar Menes and Danilo Blandon, which was hired by United States government, and Ronald Reagan came across him, was bringing him large amounts of crack cocaine in the late 70s and 80s, dropping it off on the freeway in South Central Los Angeles to Rick Ross because he was a real fast talker. And that's how he got the name Freeway Ricky Ross. And he was making $1 to $2 million a week pushing crack cocaine in South Central Los Angeles. He hired his mother, brothers, cousins, people off the street. They was using abandoned houses in the city, had commercial-sized stores in there, had prostitutes in there. $1 to $2 million a week he was making off of selling crack cocaine. And then eventually he spread the drugs all up and down the East Coast and even here in North Carolina. The proof is in this book, The Dark Alliance, the crack cocaine explosion. As you can see there, the CIA crack cocaine explosion by Gary Webb, who is a white man. He was a freelance reporter in California, and through his research and documents, he proved that the United States government, through Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, was spreading crack cocaine, trading guns for drugs with the drug lords in Colombia and Nicaragua. He was going to black churches, colleges, anywhere he could go spreading this message of how the American government deliberately spread crack cocaine in the United States. And he was assassinated in 1996. They say he committed suicide, but when they did the autopsy report, he had 2 gunshot wounds in the back of his head. How can you shoot yourself twice? Because the first shot is going to totally incapacitate you. So how could he shoot himself twice? It wasn't suicide. It was murder. And I have to give that man credit, because that was a very brave thing he did by giving us that message and the proof. And this is written by him. And he was assassinated in 1996, Gary Webb. So that was just a little quick review from the other day. Prisons in America are filled with people who are addicted to drugs, and they need treatment. Do you know? I want you to listen close to this. Do you know that in every American city, the prison population, we are 3 times the prison population in which the state that we live in. I'm going to say that again. Black people are 3 times the amount in the prison population in which the state that they live in. Let me give you an example to clear that up, because I know it may sound confusing. In Pennsylvania, where I'm from, Black people only make up 10% of the total population, but they make up 56% of the prison population. So actually it's more than 3 times the amount. Here in North Carolina, where I live, Black people only make up 22% of the total population in which they live, but they make up 58% of the prison population. In Georgia, where a lot of people think that Black people dominate, no, that's only Atlanta. We only make up 14% of the total population in Georgia, but yet we make up a whopping 68% of the prison population. 14% of the general population, but we make up 68% of the prison population. Idaho. Did you even know Black people lived in Idaho? Do you know Black people only make up 3% of the total population in Idaho, but we make up 26% of the prison population? We only are 3% of the total population, but we make up 26% of the prison population. That means damn near everyone that lives in Idaho that's Black is locked up, almost, or in the criminal justice system somehow. Something is wrong with that. Something is seriously wrong with that picture. So again, in any state which we live, we are 3 times or more the amount of the prison population in which the state that we live in. A lot of that is for drugs, people who are addicted to drugs. Some of it is pushing drugs and selling drugs, which I don't condone, but I'm talking about people who are addicted to drugs. It's an illness, not a crime. An illness, not a crime. And a lot of our youth are despairing. They're despairing, turning to street drugs that are absolutely destroying them. And then I'm going to be done. Imodium AD, which is an anti-diuretic, which is for diarrhea. Do you know that people are popping 50 to 250 pills a day because it's a active ingredient in there named lipiodine that gives you a euphoric high, just like heroin. So the more you take, the higher it gets you. 50 to 250 pills a day some people are taking to get high off of Imodium AD, which is supposed to be for diarrhea. Another drug that our youth are using, black tar heroin. Black tar heroin. They're taking it, they're liquefying it, and they're sticking it in their veins. It ruptures the veins. You will never be able to use that vein again. Gives you fast pounding heartbeat, heart attacks, all kind of stuff. Black tar heroin. And all of this is from a lack of happiness from within. So our people are suffering behind drug use and being addicted to drugs, which again, that's my main point today, is using drugs. Being addicted to drugs is not a crime according to their own system. It's not a crime. It's an illness. But yet, we get treated like criminals. Everyone else is getting interventions and treatment, and many of us are getting locked up and being incarcerated. How is that? And what can we do about it? So if you know anyone who is addicted to drugs, try not to judge them, try to help them. And again, this is one of the most powerful books I have ever read. The Dark Alliance by Gary Webb talks about how America systematically brought crack cocaine in America. And one of the places that they were bringing it to was in Arkansas, because Arkansas has the second smallest airport in the United States. And the significance of that is Bill Clinton was the president at that time, not the president, but the governor of Arkansas when they were bringing the drugs in. And people refer to him as the black president. We have suffered under Bill Clinton. No black people have went to jail more under Bill Clinton than any other president. And how do you have 45 presidents and none of them can solve this drug problem? Something is wrong with that. So again, family, thank you for listening. Maybe I'll do another message again on drugs in America. Peace and blessings.